Good morning. So we're bringing you back to the Dodge project. We've got a whole lot of catching up to do, but we'll do some videos here soon. We got caught up out west having a ton of fun, and just kind of forgot to pick the camera up for the last half of it because we was having so much fun. And here we are, what, 6 months later, a year later, maybe a year later. So we're gonna get back at it, but we're getting the Dodge ready to go back to Florida. We put new rear springs in it because the springs were from a 97 and they were pretty clapped out. What we're doing now is we're doing steering. So there've been 3 battles with this truck. Rear brakes, steering, and trailer brakes. So the trailer brake controller I bought a while back had a boost feature where it would, dog's trying to eat something. It would actually like give you extra braking for like 5 seconds and then it would back off. So if you needed the braking on the road, after 5 seconds it backed off. If you turned it up enough that it was good, in campgrounds and stuff it would drag the camper tires. So we've gone to a redark. I'll have to find it and maybe put a link down below. It's all installed. We haven't tried it yet. Hauling the tractor Monday, so it'll be our first try on it. Rear brakes, I'm happy to report that I was hauling the excavator the other day and lost all brakes. That's not happy, but it blew the proportioning valve out. So, because I'm here with one vehicle, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to bypass the proportioning valve. And that got me to thinking that the Dodge, the second gen Dodge, has a 1/8 inch brake line all the way to the rear brakes. Every other vehicle I've ever worked on, GM, Ford, whatever, has a 1/4 inch brake line to the rear brakes. So I said, you know what? I'm going to buy a General Motors rear brake hose, and I'm going to get some 1/4 inch brake line, and I'm going to run 1/4 inch brake line to the rear brakes. And she's got good rear brakes now, so it'll empty. If you panic brake, it will drag the rear tires a little bit, and it's not. I think the proportioning's about right because loaded, I want really good rear brakes. So that brought us to the last part, which was steering. You guys may or may not remember a while back when we put the Thurin track bar in, that made it go from a sloppy Dodge to a halfway decent truck. We've tried 5 steering boxes. I bought one from Geno's, which is supposedly a more modern, progressive, yada yada yada, nice steering box. When you first put it in, it handles like a Cadillac. Just doesn't seem to hold up over time. After about 10,000 miles, it seems to get play in it. We've tried a redhead. So I went for broke this time, and it's got a PSC steering box in it, which any of you know, anybody that does rock crawling or any heavy duty stuff, everything is PSC. So we've done that, and now it handles really like a nice car, except for it's got a slight dead spot in the middle. And
super floaty and disconcerting.
Yeah, so what I've come to realize is that I believe, and I could be wrong, that Moog is no longer quality. I believe that the Moog parts they're plastic bushings inside, they just don't hold up, and I'm convinced that that's our problem. So what do? You just throw more money at it. So in comes a Synergy heavy-duty second-gen steering with the Fox steering stabilizer, and that is today's project. So we're going to slop that in here. We're going to kind of show you guys some highlights of it. We're not going to take you for every step of it because you guys don't want to watch all of that. There's 100 videos on this online. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to bust off the tie rod ends on both sides. We're going to bust it off the pitman arm. We're going to take off the steering stabilizer. And other than one little piece, which is... You guys don't have to follow me if you don't want. I'll be right back. Is this piece, which on a 94 to 96, there is no low mount for a steering stabilizer. So this goes underneath the track bar mount, and we're probably going to do some modifications on it and weld it in, because you'll notice when we get going, I have a washer welded on mine for the steering stabilizer. So we're probably going to cut this bracket off and just weld it in place. They say you can weld it, they say you can drill and bolt it. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go for broken weld it just because it's easier for me. So, and yes, Cletus, the new dog, is exploring the shop. So he likes to help. So yeah, let's get going. Let's jump on that, and we'll bring you along at each step of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna bust these nuts off. I just take a big hammer and I whack on the steering knuckle of the pitman arm. You can take a pickle fork and put in there. You could actually take a hammer and beat on here. Just depends on, you know, what you want to do. If you beat on here, you're going to have a little harder job and you're probably going to bung up the threads. So I find that just smacking here real hard, which we'll show you in just a minute. Smacking right in here somewhere real hard. And it's Rory Irish, I believe his name is. Trailmater. As he says, hit it like you mean it, because you can jar this thing 1,000 times, it doesn't come loose. If you whack it once really good, it falls right out. So you'll see. We'll show you one, and then we'll go from there. So, noise warning. I also like to leave my nut on part way, so it doesn't fall right out. And then I usually get a BFH. And there you go. That one's out. Alright, so as you can see, we get the old one out. We get the old steering stabilizer out. And this is what I refer to as a pickle fork. And we did use this on the steering box because that's not such a solid object and I hate to beat on the pitman arm. It's just harder than the steering box. So now our next step is we're going to clean up the 3 points of contact real well. Get all the grease and stuff off of them. And then we're going to figure out this mount. So as I mentioned, this is supposed to be able to bolt in place of where my washer is. And you know, one may just leave that washer, we'll see. But worst case, I'm gonna grind this off and I'm gonna clean that up. I'm gonna cut this bracket off and I'm gonna weld and weld and weld. It doesn't take a lot to hold it steady. It's not gonna break off there. You can see this one's just barely tacked. So that's probably the worst part of the project so far. Of course, we haven't got the rest of it in yet. But if you own the older Dodge that has the high mount stabilizer, you have to add that bracket. And I'm cooling it down because I just don't want that prime joint in the third to get too hot.
The great socket search continues. He's tried about 6 of them, but then he figured out he had 220. So it was probably a 19. That was probably me. I usually put away all the sockets, so I probably tricked him.
And actually, if you read the manual, it does tell you what every bolt nut tells you, all the tools you need in the beginning, what everything is. It also gives you all the torque specs. I am not torquing everything down. We're getting it stuck in place. We have the exact right measurement by accident to our grease fitting. What we're going to do though, just to be careful, be safe before we can go get an alignment, is when we're all done, we're going to let this down and we'll show you. We're going to take a jack stand and we're going to scribe the tire. And we're going to check the alignment. So I'm ready to put the drag link in now. I'm going to move one box and grab another box. So we're ready to put the tires on, scribe the tires, and set the alignment. Again, this is how we did it, not how to do it. Follow the instructions. They're actually pretty good. The only issue we had was steering stabilizer. You saw us fight a little bit with it. They only send one bolt, so you're supposed to reuse your old bolt. So we did find a bolt, we got in there. I welded the bracket on, and if you guys come around here, the shock was hitting the bracket. So I took 1/8 of an inch off the bracket and I cleaned up my weld up in the top there a little bit so it wouldn't hit. So some modification may be necessary. If I was doing this again, I probably would rotate the bracket 1 degree or 2 degrees this way because you see it puts a little bit of strain on that rubber, which it's fine. It's mounted in rubber. It's made to do that. Everything's in there. Everything is tight. So the way these work is, unlike your regular tie rod ends that have the big sleeve, you turn the whole sleeve, these have this silver nut here, and this nut is reverse threaded from one side to the other. So you can turn it one way to lengthen it and the other way to shorten it. You don't get a ton of movement here, so like if you were way off, you have to unscrew or screw the other end, but this will give you probably, I'm guessing, about a 1/2 inch of adjustment without too much issue. Then you tighten these down. So we're going to let this thing down, throw some tires on it, show you how to scribe tires and do a front end alignment. All right, so we scribe this tire, and what I do is keep it in the air. I use a jack stand, and I take a Sharpie, because the tire's dirty, and I get it so that the tire's turning at an angle towards the Sharpie like that, so that it makes a smooth line. And Sue just makes a steady rotation, and I just go in until my Sharpie touches, and then I come around and I meet. And if my meet is way off, then I know I screwed up, and I can just jerk the tire back up and do it again. But that's what we're looking for, and that's going to give us something to measure to, you know, with the tape measure, front and back. So we're going to do the other side, and then we'll put the tape measure to it. 69¼ strong. So we've got just about a 32nd of an inch toe in. So that's perfect. I'm going to lock it down right there. So that's it. There's a lot of different opinions on toe in. We're going to start really close to 0, which is what Synergy Engineering or Synergy Manufacturing recommends. We're going to start there. We may play with it a little. If it handles really good, we may just cancel our front end alignment, because there's a couple things at play here on this truck that's different than a stock Dodge. Of course, one is the whole steering thing we just put in, but the other one is the PSC box, and we have a Borgeson shaft, and the Borgeson shaft that goes to the steering wheel is infinitely splined. So like if you've taken apart a steering, usually there's a flat spot on one side, so it can only go one way, and the steering wheel is perfectly locked to the steering box. In our case, it's infinitely splined, and our steering wheel is not centered on the box. So what I mean by that is when the box is dead center, the steering wheel is turned counterclockwise, I don't know, maybe 5-10 degrees, maybe 30 minutes, I guess if I was to say. It's probably about 11:30 instead of 12. And that matters. So something that most people don't tell you is on all the steering boxes, the way the gears mesh together, when they start to turn, there's this one gear that turns like this. It's a small gear. And as it turns out this way, it gets looser. And as it turns this way, it gets looser. So right in the dead center, it's got no play at all. You turn it just a little bit and you'll get a clunk, 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 which, you know, when you grab the pitman arm and you can perceivably feel it clunk, that may not move much there, but by the time it gets out here, it could be, you know, 1/4 inch. So what we did this time is we took a lot of pains to find the center of that no clunk zone. So we went one way until we got a clunk, and we went the other way until we got a clunk, and then we set the steering wheel in the center. So we have to be really careful if we take it in for an alignment that they don't try to straighten the steering wheel, because then they're going to put the wheel straight and get us into a bad spot. What we can do, if we get it where we like it, we can actually take the Borgeson shaft off and turn it 1 or 2 teeth and line it up. And it's no big deal, it's just that you don't really know where everything is. So that's how we found center. We're going to take it for a test drive, and we may play with the adjustment a little bit to get the steering wheel where we want it to get into that, you know, that tight zone. But that's it. So I think that's going to wrap up the Dodgy video and this video. I think that's it, guys. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to get washed up. We're going to take the dog for a test drive, and the Dodge and the dog for a test drive, and see how things go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.